first step to increasing your business income is understanding it or modeling it. In this video, I am going to show you a simple way to model one revenue stream using the business income gains spreadsheet. It's a free resource that you can download, link below. That takes you to a Google Sheet. Go to File, make a copy, and you can have a spreadsheet of your own to play around with for this video and model your income stream. I'm Alec from Easier Habits, and I coach overthinking entrepreneurs in how to take their overwhelm and anxiety and turn it into unstoppable execution. And if you are an overthinker, a simple financial model is one of the ways to help you cut out some of the noise of all the things you could be doing and pare your business down to a few key metrics. Now, the financial model I am going to show you is designed for one revenue stream. And obviously, if you don't have any income yet, you're not going to have a lot to fill in the financials, but this process can still help you project what price points you might need to charge at a different rate of traffic or different rate of conversion to keep your business afloat, so it can still be helpful for pre-revenue companies. If you have multiple income streams, well, you probably have fancier spreadsheets, and you can use those and apply the business income gains ideas in later videos to the spreadsheets that you already have. Welcome to the business income gains spreadsheet. Here I have two examples of financials, and I want to draw attention to some high-level things of how you're going to use these to find more money in your business. First of all, the major idea of this is that of the whole business income gain system is that you are going to understand your user avatar more deeply and leverage that and your financial statement here, your financial formula, to find areas where you can have the biggest impact on your business. Since this is forecasting, you can use a fairly streamlined approach to modeling your business finances. So I've gone with a fairly easy and flexible, simple financial model. You can apply these same principles to a bigger financial model, a more complex one in your own spreadsheets if you like, that's just fine. But especially since we're forecasting in general here, you can go with somewhat quick, low resolution look at your finances, and that is enough to forecast where you should prioritize your effort. Again, since you're forecasting the future and nothing works out exactly as you think, there are diminishing returns to forecasting with immense precision. So that said, the other things that I want to draw attention to is I have two very different business models because I just want to contrast what that looks like. A e-commerce model where you might be high volume, low value, and then a high ticket consulting whatever version where you're actually going to have much less traffic but you're going to have higher conversion and much higher margins. So that said, let's dive into how to use this. You have organic traffic, and this terminology does come off of e-commerce, but you can use this same thing for brick and mortar stores. Organic traffic are the people who come to where you sell things and that you didn't have to pay for them. So a website, that's just people who find your website naturally via your website itself or content, etc. But you didn't have to run ads to acquire them. For a brick and mortar store, that's people who walk in off the street, and you didn't have to post flyers or ads to acquire those customers. So paid traffic would be the opposite, the people that you do have to pay to come to where your goods are sold. And then the cost of acquisition is the cost per each person that you pay to come in. Obviously online, that might be CPC, cost per click. So given that, all right, you have an overall conversion rate. So that is across organic and paid. This is absolutely something that you can separate out and might be really interested in separating out at some point. One way that you could do that with the business income spreadsheet is simply have two sheets, one for organic and one for paid. But for sake of speed, and because, again, we're forecasting this can be a little bit lower resolution than the resolution at which you might want to track your business statistics, then you can just put it all together for sake of speed and simplicity and seeing both in one place. So the number of sales is calculated for you, the total traffic, organic and paid, times the conversion. So the average transaction value is how much people buy. In an e-commerce example, like direct consumer keto cereal or something, maybe people buy in bulk, they buy enough cereal for a month or a couple months, and on average it's $80. The average cost of goods sold is $15 in this case. That's how much does it take to produce the cereal, or if you're a retailer rather than a wholesaler, it's like how much does it take to buy the cereal. It might include shipping costs in that if you don't have some sort of bulk shipping arrangement. Otherwise, for instance, if it is a bulk shipping arrangement and it's not broken out by users, you can still calculate that, your total for the year versus your total versus the total sales that you make, and calculate a bulk sales arrangement in average cost of goods. Or you can put it in operating costs and kind of fudge things a little bit. I would tend to try and do what you can because it is associated with the sale to put in average cost of goods, but you have operating costs, which are all the costs not associated with sales, as kind of a fudge factor. Any other cost goes in here. So that would be the cost of running a website. That would be the costs of paying contractors or employees, or you could model that as whatever share, if you would like to, and you're using a payment provider like PayPal or something like that, you could do the amount of each sale that they take, you could either put in cost of goods sold breaking down, or if you have some other non-sale oriented arrangement for your payment system. I think pretty much all of them would factor into average cost of goods sold, but any services that you do buy, you could throw in operating costs, equipment, etc. So using this, revenue is calculated for you and net income. Again, I am using very modest net revenue businesses without amazing conversion rates, again, to show you that if for a very modest business, I can find gains of, 5,000, 6,000, 10, 12,000, right? How much more can you get as you grow? You don't need to do something dramatic, and you don't need an amazing business to start making a lot more money. You can start making money relatively quickly and relatively easily by making small intentional tweaks, just by focusing down on the things that matter the most for your business. Gross margin ratio and net margin ratio are not going to be heavily used, but they're sometimes useful just for you as a company. So gross margin ratio is what percentage of your sales is profit. In this case, I am including traffic acquisition and cost of goods sold in the gross margin ratio, but not operating costs. And the net margin ratio is what percentage of your sale goes to profit, including operating costs. And so if these are vastly different, that just means, usually the net margin ratio should be lower because it's including more costs. And if they're vastly different, that just means operating costs are a bigger percentage of your costs, as in this high ticket case. Now, I wanted to contrast that e-commerce case with a high ticket consulting and sales. Obviously, you're going to have much less traffic, much lower traffic. You might have a higher cost of acquisition, either because you're literally going to paid events to find leads, or that you're paying more online for really premium, highly qualified leads, whatever that is. Your conversion is typically higher in consulting, again, because a lot of it is word of mouth and networking. Your overall number of sales are going to be much lower, but your average transaction value is going to be much higher. Now, average transaction value here, how would I model that? Is not just what people pay for up front. For example, if you are a consultant on retainer or a solopreneur coder, for example, right? Maybe you have a monthly fee or an hourly fee, but on average, each client who does close with you spends $5,000, right? Because maybe if you have $1,000 monthly retainer, or on average you sell four rounds of coaching for $1,000, right? And your average client, if they stayed with you for 5 months, then on average, that client, when you close them, would be worth $5,000, even if they only close initially for $1,000. So that's one thing in the kind of consulting world that I would like to clarify a little bit in the average transaction value. You want to kind of calculate that out. Yes, you can estimate. That is fine. The more accurate your numbers, the more accurate your forecasting will be. But again, here there are there are limitations, and so I wouldn't overdo it. You might think of the average number of sales per year total, and then divide that by the average, or by the number of sales. Keep it simple. You don't have to be calculating out lifetime value. For example, I don't go that far in this particular model, especially because this is for earlier stage companies. All right, average cost of goods sold. If you're offering a service, it could be 0, but if you're offering a high ticket service, you also might think of like a welcome basket or something. Or maybe if you're a consultant and you're doing proposals to company, maybe you have a designer do a freaking amazing job designing a beautiful proposal that they're going to want to look at, and it's pretty, etc. Who knows, whatever that could be, right? And then operating costs, right? That could include all the meetings you go to network if you can't tie them to individual leads, and don't put that in the paid traffic. That could be the cost of paying for videographers to produce videos that you use to nurture your leads. Maybe you're not content marketing at a high level, but you do have a couple of very professional videos to help introduce you to your leads as part of your funnel system, etc. Who knows? That could be part of it. All right, the revenue again calculated for you, and there's a net income. So these are two very different models. I'll be using the e-commerce example just to pick one. And basically what I did for this course is copy the e-commerce into the financial section right here, as you see. So I'm going to be using that later on in this course just to have numbers to work with. Of course, you should put in your own financials there and forecast. And if you are pre-revenue, you can absolutely use this sheet to get a sense of what your business model should be, how much you need to be charging, what your costs might be. I encourage you, as always, if you are using this to forecast, always be conservative, right? You can do like pie in the sky examples just to see, but especially if you are starting out in a company, like I picked a pretty middle of the road e-commerce conversion rate, but especially if you're new, you probably wouldn't even pick that, right? You probably pick like, all right, I have a 2% conversion rate. Obviously, I can't pay that cost of acquisition. I need more organic traffic. I need to lower my cost of goods or transaction value to get off the road, to take off than an average company, right? So don't pick advanced examples. Assume that there will be a learning curve if you're forecasting this for the first time. So I know that going through the operating costs and conversion rates can be a little bit dry, but the exciting thing that a financial model does for you is allow you to project how much more money you could make if you could improve one of these metrics. So you start to begin to forecast, right? So if I had just a 10% increase in organic traffic, for example, my income jumps 6,000. That's also true with a 1% conversion rate increase. And let's see, around a 5-cent decrease or 2.5% decrease in my cost of acquisition of traffic. But what happens when I put those all together? So I have that and that. And then all of a sudden, right, those 6,000 plus 6,000 plus 6,000 gains weren't just 18,000. That would take you from about 42,000 to 60,000, but it's 64,000, right? These little gains, very little gains stacked on top of each other start to add extra additional value, which is the exciting part of this. So you don't need to make big changes to start dramatically increasing your company. You just have to focus on one thing at a time, an achievable gain, improve that, and keep iterating through the different parts of your business model. And you can, I think in this case, that went from 42,000 to 22,000. So that's over a 50% increase in net revenue by implementing a few very specific, modest increases. Also, if you have any questions or comments, comment down below. I would love to have your feedback on the system to improve it for future entrepreneurs. If If you have questions about how to model your finances using the spreadsheet or how to access the spreadsheet, just comment below and I will help you out. Stay tuned for how to develop a killer specific user avatar that will generate business insights. That's the next video. And after that, we'll dive into how to use that avatar to find more customers, to speak their language so they convert, to craft your offer, a high value offer that people are willing to pay more for, and how to re-engage your customers.